If you're like me and always wanting to try out exotics that have gotten a nice little rework, then try out this point contact cannon brace setup that I've been using. It's on Prismatic. It's really solid. You're able to do that end game, expert law sector, pretty much any type of, dungeons, anything with it, because it has a great way to keep you alive while also, just absolutely annihilating waves of enemies. But before we get into the build, you can follow me over on YouTube and Twitter at Birdman778. Give a thumbs up on the video. Let me know something you're interested in seeing down below for Titan, Hunter, or Warlock. Subscribe and become a member. Now let's jump right on into it. Now we like to start off with the exotic, and that's going to be those point contact cannon brace. It reads, Hammer of the Gods. Defeating targets with your thunderclap melee restores melee energy. Targets near you when you use your thunderclap suffer lightning strikes and become jolted. Being amplified increases the damage of those lightning strikes. And so this actually recently had a rework. Before it was just based off of the thunderclap getting kills, I believe, and now it's based off of lightning strikes hitting enemies. So you're able to actually get a lot of melee energy back for this. I really like the change to it. And also those lightning strikes are double damage now. So they are very, very potent. I really like using these, in, like I mentioned before, those expert solo lost sectors, because of the fact that you hit one enemy with it, it's going to absolutely annihilate everyone around them. And then it's also going to inflict that jolting effect while also making you amplified. So these are absolutely freaking juicy now. I'd say they're perfect. Now when it comes to our abilities, we're obviously gonna have to be using that thunder clap. Only way to use those contact cannon braces, but I will say this ability has definitely also had a glow up over time. The damage resistance you get while charging it up is absolutely insane. So you'll notice in times like, you'll jump into the thick of it, hold it down, you might lose a little bit of health, but the second it makes contact on an enemy, you are getting a lot of that health back because of one of our aspects, and again, huge damage resistance. Also running Shackle Grenade, because this is just great. One, it's baked in unstoppable stun with it, so it's always nice, but it's also just great just taking enemies out of the fight, and it's just a really great way to get our darkness debuff energy up. For our aspects, we're going to be running Knockout. Critically wounding a target or breaking their shield infuses your melee attack with arc energy, increases your melee range and damage for a short time. Defeating targets with melee attacks makes you amplified and restores a portion of your health. Defeating more powerful commands increases the amount of health. So again, going back to that thunderclap, have a lot of damage resistance while doing it. You knock out an enemy with it, and then you're going to get a lot of health back from this. I love it, love it, love it. I love having that baked in melee range and damage. Kind of feels like just like, having Synthoceps on all the time. It does suck you only get 2 fragment slots with it, but this is a perfect aspect for this melee setup. Also, we're going to be running Diamond Lance. We love Diamond Lance for so many different reasons. One, it's able to, just like have this like pickup that you're able to throw on enemies, especially like AoE targets, freeze them all, and then, shoot one of them, get a great shatter effect out of it. You're able to, stop unstoppables with it by, freezing them and then shattering them right afterwards. And then also for the fact that now whenever you do the ground slam with it, you're going to get yourself ×2 stacks of that frost armor so that you're able to, get a little bit more damage resistance. When we're talking about our fragments, first up, faceted protection. While surrounded by combatants, you're more resistant to incoming damage. And then while you're transcendent, that effect is increased. So good for a build that, you're having to be in the thick of it a lot, be surrounded by enemies. You definitely need that damage reduction. Facet of balance, rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy. Defeating targets with darkness damage grants grenade energy. I really like this for the fact that our light elemental punch is going to give us melee energy back. Obviously really great. You're obviously always going to be rapidly defeating targets with that. And then obviously our darkness grenade is definitely going to get fed right into itself by, obviously, defeating targets with that and then getting that grenade energy back. Facet of courage. I love this one for the fact that it's just going to definitely juice up that thunderclap for me in the thick of it. I will say this is a bit of a luxury one that you can change around if you want, but I really do enjoy that. If you were to change this to something else, I would say Facet of Dawn. For that, just the inherent radiant effect is always nice to have. Facet of Sacrifice. While you have an arc, solar, void buff, ability final blows grant bonus darkness transcendent energy. Obviously great for getting our transcendence bar up all the time and, ensuring that we always have that transcendence available. And then finally, Facet of Purpose. Big reason why I like this is just the fact that we will be creating orbs pretty consistently with this setup, so it's going to ensure that we, are able to get a bit of a buff on us. That's going to be that frost armor since we have that glacial quake on. Again, adding a lot of damage reduction to the setup. Now, I will say this is also a bit of a, luxury one. You could change it around to something else, but at the same time, I think it's just really solid to have. Weapon-wise, is really up to you. I'm kind of just using what's meta right now, but I really have been loving using the centrifuge. Overcharge capacitator, spring, sliding, and firing this weapon builds up up temporary electrostatic charge, increasing range and reload speed. Final blows of this charge cause explosions, and maximum charge explosions blind targets. Now, obviously the blinding target thing is really solid with the updated artifact, since you are able to get increased arc energy damage against blinded targets. So this is definitely going to be a big benefit to you. We'll talk about that a little bit more once we get back to the artifact. Now, when it comes to our mods we're going to be using on the entire setup, first up on our helmet, we're obviously going to be running those heavy and special ammo finders, so we always have ammo for our other two weapons. And I'm running an arc siphon purely just so that I'm able to get, some orbs of power whenever I get kills with that centrifuge, since that's going to be my main weapon of choice. On our gloves, a double heavy-handed, so that we're having a 5-second cooldown in between getting those final blows with our powered melee and then getting an orb out of it. Obviously really solid. It usually takes you about 5 extra seconds to get a full charge anyway, and then even charging up your melee takes a good 2 seconds as is, so you should be able to constantly keep this up. And then also impact induction, just so that we're able to get a little bit of grenade energy back whenever we get those powered melee damages. Chest piece, we're running a charged up for an extra stack of our armor charge. Just kind of plays into our artifact a little bit, so I'll talk about that here in a second. But the other two mods, just resistance mods based on needs at the time. On our legs, we're gonna be running an invigoration, so that we're able to get that melee cooldown or pick up an orb of power, and then double arc weapon surge, so that we're having that extra damage. Now, a lot of people might say, why don't you have recuperation on? Well, we're able to keep up our health quite often with just getting those melee hits. I will say though, you probably could swap out one of these arc weapon surges for recuperation and then just boost your other stats along the way. And then finally, on our class item, we're going to be running powerful attraction and pulling all those orbs of powers around us whenever we activate our barrier, time dilation so those armor charges last longer, and then outreach so that whenever we activate our class ability, we're going to get a little bit of some melee energy back. Now, when it comes to the artifact, obviously we want to take advantage of this new authorized mod, melee. The armor energy costs of all armor mods affecting your melee are significantly discounted to 1, really solid. In the second column, rapid impacts is gonna be great because we're mainly using that grenade launcher right there, so it's always good to have that. Third column, the thick of it, rapidly final blows while surrounded grants you an armor charge. That's so consistent, so you'll be able to constantly keep that up. Also, trace evidence, rapid precision hits or rapid final blows on targets afflicted by jolt or blind will give you an ionic trace for that extra energy. We love to have that. In the fourth column, retinial burn, arc weapon precision hits consume an armor charge and then blind the target. Obviously it's going to feed into that last mod we're going to talk about, but obviously concussive reload is huge for constantly weakening targets. And then finally, in the last column, we're going to be using kinetic impacts, just so we have that baked in unstoppable champion stun, and also for the fact that it's just going to give us an extra damage for our heavy grenade launcher. And then finally, arc compounding. Arc sources deal increased damage to blind targets. Again, huge to have. We always like to talk about how this is going to affect different champions that we're going to be going against. First up, against barrier, this is going to be one that you're going to need to have maybe swap something around. Again, going back to our subclass, swapping out maybe like Facet of Courage or Facet of Purpose for Facet of Dawn would be huge, since you're mainly using the centrifuge and that doesn't have any baked in champion mod for it, so obviously that would be really nice to have. For unstoppable, you have your heavy grenade launcher, you can get that kinetic tremor effect, or you can also again just shatter them with a diamond lance, or also use your suspension grenade to do that. And then finally, for overload, we're going to be able to just use that regular grenade launcher against it, or also just take advantage of getting a thunderclap off and jolting the overload champion. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys really enjoy it. Again, let me know something you're interested in seeing down below. There's been some changes, things moving around. I'm probably going to be making a few more builds coming up here soon. I got some time off before I start my new job, so kind of have no reason not to make some content. So we'll grind all those out just so people have most up-to-date builds as humanly possible. But again, always let me know something you're interested in seeing down below, and follow me over on YouTube and Twitter at Birdman778. Guys, thank you so much. I hope you have a great night, day, or whatever it may be.